Glenn Howerton, you are on the new show on NBC, AP Bio. It's a very funny show. Where did your involvement with the program come from?
I was sent the script, I'd say probably through the normal channels, agents and managers and whatnot. My reps got me the script and they said, hey, we read this thing, because I wasn't really interested in doing anything else necessarily, but so they knew that I was being very picky about what I get involved in, and they said, hey, why don't you read the script? People seem to be really responding to it. So it really just started by me reading the script, and I mean, I have to admit, it felt like it fit like a glove, this character. It just felt like Mike O'Brien, the show's creator, really wrote something where he understood my sense of humor and the kind of things but it also felt, even though there's some similarities between my characters, between the character in AP Bio and the character and Dennis and Sonny, the tone of the show felt totally different to me, but funny and funny in a way that I hadn't had a chance to explore yet. So it started that way, and then I met with Mike, had drinks with him, and then I sat down and had drinks with him and with Lauren Michaels on a separate occasion, and we just all really hit it off, and yeah, it kind of fell into place after that.
I'm curious. The show really is really lynched by both you and the character that Patton Oswalt plays, the principal of the school. Was he involved already by the time you came on board, or was he an addition later?
No, I don't think that they had really cast many of the characters by the time I signed on to do it. I think I was one of the first people that was cast, and I think that was one of the reasons why it was also important to me for there to be people like Seth and Lauren involved, because I knew that they were going to get somebody great to play that part. What I didn't know is that they were going to get somebody that I was such a big fan of, like I am a fan of Patton's. So when I found out he was doing it, then I really felt like I'd made the right decision, because I trust his taste, but I also just really enjoy him as a comedian and as an actor as well.
Yeah, he's really he's not just as you say, he's not just a great comedian, he's a fantastic performer as well. And I'm curious. I'm curious because there's a lot of hidden gems on the show. Also, I mean, you are fantastic with your performance, but it's also the chemistry you have with other characters, including a lot of the kids. I'm wondering which of the kids surprised you the most in the chemistry that you had connected with them while performing on the show.
They're all legitimately terrific actors. I marveled right at the beginning, because that was the big question mark for me. I mean, once I met Gene and Mary and Lyric, and I knew their strong comedic backgrounds, I felt like I was in good hands with them. Once I knew Patton was on board, I knew we had a good cast. But I wasn't sure. It was like, these kids, though, if the kids aren't great, then the whole show really falls apart. So that was the big question mark. And I remember going in for the first day of rehearsal, which we didn't do a ton of rehearsals, but we did some rehearsals leading up to shooting the pilot. I mean, just right from the beginning, I was like, these kids are amazing. They had so much confidence as performers, so much more confidence than I think I did when I was their age. And some of them, some of them really are of high school age. Some of them really are kids. But I will admit, I found right off the bat, I was pretty blown away by Ashley Allison Arm, who plays Heather on the show, the girl with the Coke bottle glasses. Just one of those people that as we were performing the scenes, and I hadn't really spent any time with them before. We just jumped right into doing these rehearsals. And she was so funny, and I was like, where did they find this person? And I didn't realize, like, I mean, she was so real as that character that I just thought, like, oh, they just found this person and they cast this person. But she's nothing like that character in real life, nothing at all like that person. It's really a testament to what an extraordinary, and none of them really are much like their characters at all, which is just such a testament to what great performers they are. They're such cool kids, and they play as such cool people, and they play such nerdy, sweet kids on the show. So yeah, I don't know.
And one of the things I'm wondering is, what drew you to want to play this character? Because I know there are quite a few similarities to Dennis there from Sonny, but there's also a very nice warmth to him. Was that what drew you to playing the character?
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit there was a comfortability there. I do enjoy. I've always enjoyed playing villains, I guess, for lack of a better word. And this guy really did feel like a deeply flawed person who, on the surface, almost wants to be the villain, because I think it's a little bit easier for him to take on that role than for him to be considered like the good guy, the nice guy. Because I think ultimately I felt as though I was playing somebody who had been hurt a lot of times in his life, and so he had to put up this hard shell that nobody could push past, and it was, but the warmth was there. And I think, even though, as you said, there really are similarities between this character and Dennis, but the world felt so different. It felt like dropping a cynical character into a warm, sweet world. And Mike's style, the way he writes, is just so different than the way we write on Sonny. So it felt like I wasn't totally treading on new territory, but it was doing it, and it was almost just getting to play in a totally different playground with equally funny people that are doing something different.
One of the things that you just mentioned there is, not only were you an actor on Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but you're a writer on the show. You've written a number of episodes. I was always curious as to whether you found it more frustrating or relaxing to be acting in a project where you don't have any involvement as a writer.
Yeah, both. It can be, well, I wouldn't, it never felt relaxing, only insofar as, I think it might, we would probably get maybe a little bit more relaxing, in the second and third season, as we sort of like grow comfortable with what's working and what's not working. And, I wouldn't have to be doing so much thinking about how I wanted to play the character and how it differs from, because the differences really are sometimes subtle between, but I don't want the character to feel like Dennis. So it actually took a lot of brain power for me to make sure I don't fall into the same rhythms, and the same style of inflection and the same style of emphasis as I did. The temptation was always there to draw from the same place that I was drawing from, that I draw from when I play Dennis. But because the characters are subtly different, it took a lot of concentration to make sure I didn't fall into those same rhythms as the characters. But to answer your question, it was easier in the sense that I don't have to actually sit down and do the rewrites myself. But yeah, sometimes it was difficult for me to relinquish control. I'll admit that. Mike and I got into, we luckily most of the time we were on the same page about what was working and what wasn't working. And he was so open to my feedback that I never felt like I was like stepping on his toes or anything. And when he disagreed with me, he just disagreed with me, and it was never about egos or anything. And there were things that I felt really strongly about that I felt like were not working about the show that he fought me on, that now when I watch the show, I realize he was right. And I'm glad he fought for those things, because I also don't want it to be my show. Because if it was my show, it might feel too much like Sonny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. And it's a really fine difference, I think, that's put in there. One of the interesting things, of course, there's been a lot of news about Sonny recently, quite a bit of misinformation as well. Safe to say is right now, there are 2 more seasons of the show. We don't know, you don't know right now what the involvement's going to be. So we know that's not settled right now. But I was wondering, if you
Well,
were to,
that's
what's
actually
that?
that's actually not totally true. I do know because we've been writing the 13th season, so I actually do know what's going to happen.
Oh, wow. Okay, then. I'm guessing you want to keep that a bit under wraps
Yeah, I'm
because
not
it's
gonna.
all
Yeah, I can't tell you, but
no
I
one's
will.
watching. It's okay.
What's that?
No one's watching. It's okay.
um, no, yeah, no, I can't reveal anything. But it's very funny. It's very funny. I will say that. Very funny.
Well, the thing I was curious about is if you were to step back or possibly even leave Sonny, what would you miss most about that working experience?
Um, I tell you, it's AP Bio and Sonny are just two totally different shows. The easiest way to answer your question is there is nothing in the world like Sonny, and it's easy to take that kind of thing for granted when you're a part of it and you can't sort of see it objectively. As I'm sure I can't totally see Sonny objectively. I could never watch an episode of the show the way an audience member watches it. I know too much. I know how the sausage is made, as they say. But I've worked on enough things to know, that it's the chemistry between us. And, a lot of people say that it looks like we're having, a lot of fun working on the show together. And it's true. It's just so much fun. But I'll also say the style in which we shoot Sonny, we shoot so many cameras at one time. We almost always have at least 3 cameras pointing on us at once. And, it's one of the reasons why the show has always looked so bad, because we were always willing to sacrifice the look of the show in order to almost have things play out in real time. So in other words, the way most things, and I think most people kind of know this, not to get too into the technical stuff, but, most things are shot, you shoot one side. And then the director of photography lights one side of the scene. They shoot that one actor, and then they take it all down. They turn everything around, and they light the other side, and they shoot the other actor. And what that does is it makes the lighting great, and you can get nice big cameras in there, and it looks terrific. And you can keep your eye line really close to the lens because there's not another camera pointing at the other person. We don't shoot that way on Sonny at all. We shoot it as if it's a play. We shoot the whole scene. Everybody's on camera at once. And the beauty of that is I think it really affects our performances. When you're acting with someone who's across from you and only one person is being filmed, the other person, if they're a generous actor, they're still giving you a lot. But there's nothing like putting 2 people on camera at the same time. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's just, the energy is just different. And especially when it's comedy, you get to improvise. And those improvised moments where we're trying, look, my goal in a scene is always to try and make the people I'm in the scene with laugh. I know that you might say that's unprofessional. And it is arguably a little bit unprofessional, but the reason I do that, and we all do that. If I'm in a scene with Charlie, his goal is always to try and make me break, even if it means ruining the take, because that's when all the best stuff happens. Is when I'm in a scene, I'm trying to make him laugh. He's in a scene with me. He's trying to make me laugh, and we're doing it at the same time, and we're both on camera. There's not just one of us on camera. And I'll improvise something out of nowhere, out of total left field, and I know that he's going to be right there with me. At this point, we know each other's moves so well. I know exactly what to say because I know the way Caitlin's mind works. I know exactly what to say to her in a moment, or what to do to make her say something really funny back. So we just know how to set each other up. And that just, you can't, that comes from working with each other for 12 years. You can't replace that. So I would miss the way we shoot the show. I would miss the chemistry, and I would miss the characters, and I would miss just the style of the show. it's its own thing. There'll never be anything quite like it. I don't know.
No, it's definitely true. When I was actually doing a little bit of research, I saw that you had gone to Juilliard for school, and I've always wondered with a lot of times when people think of people that have gone to acting schools, they don't think of a lot of comedic actors, but a lot of comedic actors have come through Juilliard, including Robin Williams, and now you. And I'm wondering, when you went to Juilliard and wanted to study to become an actor, did you have a hope that your career would be mainly associated with comedy, or were you hoping for something more to maybe go more dramatic, or were you just looking for variety?
If you were to ask, 24-year-old Glenn Howerton, what kind of career he envisioned for himself, I would be doing Tennessee Williams and Edward Albee, and I'd be doing Chekhov and Shakespeare on stage, either in New York or at regional theaters across the U.S. I don't think I would have said you'll see me on a sitcom or but looking back on it now, I can see that I was always making jokes. And even though I was and still do consider myself a serious actor, I always had a mind towards satire. So I was always finding the funny spin on things, even if I wasn't actually putting it into my performance. It would happen in rehearsals where I'd be like, oh, the way my brain works is I'm always like, oh, if this would be funny if, so, and I actually think, it's not entirely different from how all of our careers started. When I say all of it, Danny, me, Rob, Charlie, we were all serious actors. We were all dramatic actors before we started this show. I mean, Caitlin was a little more from the comedy world than any of us, but so we've always, and I think it might be a little kind of what goes into the special sauce of what makes Sonny different is we've always approached the storytelling aspect of it, and even to a certain degree, the grounding of the performances in a sort of a dramatic style. I mean, when Dennis gets enraged, it's important to me for that to feel real. I mean, of course it's big and it's insane, but that's because the character's insane, but he always believes it. So anyway, to answer your question, I always thought I'd be more of a dramatic actor, honestly. And I still see doing more of that stuff in my future at some point. I never set out to be a comic person, but I do truly enjoy comedy. I really do.
Well, we absolutely enjoy seeing you in it. I can, as I was telling you before, I've been watching Sonny since it came on, and the amount of laughter that you have caused me and my friends and the untold number of viewers of that show has been just amazing.
Thanks, man.
And we look forward to so much more. AP Bio is hilarious. It's on Thursdays on NBC. Glenn Howerton, thanks so much for talking with us.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you. Sorry if my answers were too long-winded. I tend to get a little philosophical.
Completely fine. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's been fun.